This is the story now of who ate the third loaf of bread. Some of you perhaps have heard this. Our prophet, peace be upon him, taught us that once upon a time that Jesus, peace be upon him, gave some money to one of his companions, and he told him to go into town and get some food for everybody. And the man took the money, he went into a town close by, bought the food. There wasn't very much money, and all he was able to buy was 3 loaves of bread. And he was very, very hungry. And he realized that there was just these 3 loaves of bread. So he decided to eat 1 loaf of the bread himself. And then when he got back, he just handed the bread over to Jesus, who asked him, who ate the 3rd loaf of bread? And immediately the man said, but there are only 2 loaves of bread. And Jesus, peace and blessing be upon him, didn't say anything else, but they continued on the journey with their companions. Later on, the companions succeeded in hunting a deer, and they killed the deer, and they were cooking it and eating from the deer. Then Jesus, peace be upon him, he stood up and he asked Allah to bring the deer back to life. And in less than a second, the deer jumped back up and ran away. And the people were amazed that how could this deer that we just killed, and we cooked him, and we were eating him, and then suddenly he just jumps up and runs away. So then Jesus looked at the man who had gone after the bread, and he said, I'm asking you by the one who brought this deer back to life, who ate the 3rd loaf of bread? And immediately the man said there were only 2 loaves of bread. Again, Jesus, peace be upon him, didn't say anything, and they continued on their journey. Now while they were walking, they came across a river that had been flooded up. Jesus, peace be upon him, asked them to hold his hand. So everybody joined hands with him, and they were able to walk across the top of the river and walk all the way to the other side. When they got to the other side, the people were amazed, how could this be? He said to this same man again, he said, I'm asking you by the one, in other words, I'm asking you by the one who made it for us to be able to cross this river by walking on top of it, who ate the 3rd loaf of bread? And immediately he said, there were only 2 loaves of bread. So Jesus, he didn't say anything again, and they went on. Then they came to a desert. And that's when Jesus, peace be upon him, took 3 big piles of sand. Then he asked Allah, change this into gold. And this man was watching this. And suddenly, the piles of sand became piles of gold. And he said, 1 pile is for me. And he looked at the man and he said, 1 pile is for you. And the 3rd pile is going to be for the one who ate the 3rd loaf of bread. The man quickly said, I'm the one who ate the 3rd loaf of bread. And Jesus told him, then all 3 piles of gold are for you, but do not accompany us anymore. But the man didn't care. He was so happy. He sat down in front of his new fortune, and he started dreaming of what he was going to do with it. He was smiling all alone, looking at his wealth. Suddenly 3 thieves came upon him, and they saw, here's a man sitting alone with this huge treasure of gold. First thing they did, they killed him. Then they divided the gold. Each one of them took one of the big piles of gold. And then they sent one of them to go in and get some food so they could eat and then plan out their future. So one of the thieves, he went to town to buy food. Now, he didn't take one of the loaves of bread like the other guy. Instead, he decided to poison the food so when he goes back, the people will eat the poison, they'll die, and he'll get all 3 shares of gold for himself. And this is what he did. But his friends who he'd left behind were also plotting against him. And they decided that when this man comes back, we'll jump him from the 2 sides, kill him, and then we'll divide up his share of the gold amongst ourselves. So they killed him when he came back, and then they sat down to enjoy their meal. And they ate the poisoned food. And a few minutes later, they both died, and they all were laying there. When Jesus, peace be upon him, came back with his companions, they passed by the very same spot, and there they saw their former companion laying on the ground, and the other 3 thieves laying there too, all of them dead, and all 3 piles of gold laying there. And he pointed to this and he said, this is the life of this world. In the Arabic called al-hayat ad-dunya. This is the life of this world. And this is what it will do for those who seek after it.